So this wire here is probably, I don't know, about 5 feet long. I don't think that much. We'll cut it after we get it placed where we want it. Okay, so that's basically done. The only other thing, we got some of this split boom plastic covering for the cable. It's probably 1/4, 3/8, something like that. Instead of trying to fish it through all these other cable harnesses in here, this stuff isn't that expensive. We'll just make our own little cover for it. So that's going to be next. I'll actually put the rest of this crap back on. So I've got to remount the bar and remount the fuse box back in place. Snap that cover back on. And then get back down. Close that thing up there. One thing of note, if you ever do need to get in there, you can't see it, but there was a bracket that was bolted onto the fender well that held those wires. It's just easier to take that bracket off. Slide it back and take it off. Okay. So we'll get this bar put back on, fuse box set back up, and we'll continue. Okay, back to our wiring. Okay, this is the cable that we, 2 wires that we soldered for the temperature sensor. You see I'm running them out to the side of the fender here. I think what we're going to do is run it along here, in between this brace and the fuse box. And then back behind, try to see back behind this light, so that we end up coming out into the condenser area. You can see, at least on this fan, there's a nice cut out there for a cable. There's also a cable there. I think the sensor's probably going to mount right here. So that's where we're at. So just to note before you start putting everything back together, it's going to be easier to go ahead and put your plastic just split boom shield over your wire before you put all this stuff back on it, because otherwise it's going to be hard to get way the heck down in there. So that'll be the next thing to do, is put that cable on, and then we'll put the rest of this stuff back in. And here's that split boom. You just feed the wires into this and slide it on down. Okay, got the cover on. And just going to run this thing around. And inside this fuse box here, underneath it. Get ready to move to the next part. Alrighty then. There's our cable again. And we brought it back behind this fuse box. Here's the battery. Now, if you can see, probably can't. There's a gap right down here by the radiator cap. There's an opening right back there where that cable's going through. And it'll come right out. Behind the headlight right here. Right in up through there. There's a gap. And there's plenty of room in there. The headlights need to be adjusted. It's not gonna harm anything. And it'll come right down through here, just like it was made for it. And that's it. Next step, of course, we hook up the sensor to the frame there, and then hook up the wires to the sensor. Now that that's done, that's that. You can go ahead and put everything back together up here. Okay, before I put the console base up in here, I'm going to put a screw into this bracket so it doesn't do none of this stuff, since everything's going to be kind of bolted up to that as far as the base goes. So just want to get this thing kind of centered. And once you've got it where you like it, it's just going to be a matter of drill a hole right in here and put in a little machine screw. And you probably want to set your drill bit up so it's kind of short. That way you don't end up accidentally punching through your roof. That's the next step. Okay, the base plate for this upper console is almost finished installing. We've got it in place right now. And if you look in here, camera up there. There we go, you can see one of the bolts there holding it up. And then the other one's back up right there. And those were tapped out to quarter 20s. There's a short quarter 20 bolt. It's probably ½ inch long or so. Probably less than that, maybe quarter 3/8. So the next thing to do is to finish mounting this up here. Now you can see here the 2 spacers for that protrusion here for the old console. So that way when we put the screws up inside here, it's not going to break anything. But what we got to do now is take the screws out for the console cover. One here, this one here, another one down here. And we're going to put the console in. And then we've got to drill through that console, through this plastic plate here on each side, through our spacer, and then up into this metal post that's going across here. And once that's done, it's just a matter of finishing up the wiring. So on to the next step. The next thing you want to do is take your console, open up your OnStar cover, and see. You can see where the hopefully try this light thing. You can see there's an opening there for a screw, and an opening here for the other screw, so that you can screw the cover onto the base. And since we made the modifications that we're going to be mounting it up onto that bracket there, where those spacers are, so we're going to be drilling in right around there. So what I did was 1 3/4 inches from the center of that hole over, drill the hole there, and then 1 3/4 inches from the center of that hole, drill over to here. And that'll do is get you to, the screws will line up into the rails, the groove on this rail up here. So the next thing to do be to put it back up in the overhead, get everything lined up, drill the holes, and put the sheet metal screws in. So that's going to be the next step. Okay, so you want to get up in here, and this is where you want to drill those holes up in here. Okay, I got the screw in that one already. And this one's going to go right up in that hole right there. And once we get that one in, then I can go ahead and put these other screws in. Now there's the original screws here, and back over in here. They probably aren't really needed. This thing's up in there pretty good right now, but probably wouldn't hurt either. So that's where we are. Finish tightening these up, and then we'll be moving on to finishing the wiring up. And that'll be the next step. Okay, here is the installed information center. What I'm going to do is pop open this cover, and we'll take a look at the wiring up in here. Little screwdriver, upholstery tool, you can see that. Just get them up in there, this whole thing will pop right out. And there you go. Okay. Now this particular console got off an online auction site. It does have the OnStar buttons and the module up in here, but my particular van doesn't have that option code. I think it's a UE1 or something like that. So I don't have the OnStar module that I think you normally would sit underneath the dashboard. So anyway, that's not hooked up, and the wires for that are just, oh, there they are. That's the OnStar crap right there. Don't really need it. I don't really want it, so I didn't hook it up. However, it did hook up this HomeLink system. I haven't checked it out yet, but one of the things that I had to do was to tap in to these wires that go to the digital information center display thing right here. And those 3 wires were black and orange, and there's a gray one in there. And what I did was I made my own little connector here, because the console I had didn't have all these connectors when I got it. They were all, the wires were just cut off, so basically all I did was spliced into those wires and made a little jumper. Had an electrical connector. It was a 4-wire, I made it a 3-wire. There's the 3 wires. They're not the same colors now, of course. I got black, green, and red. And then they come back over here and they splice back into the wires that were cut from that HomeLink system, which is the black, the gray, and this orange. So like I say, the HomeLink is set up.